Good morning, everybody. I seen that little hiccup in the Wi-Fi, so let me see if I'm running on Wi-Fi and something else. Okay, let me get rid of that. All right. Good morning, everybody. I had said, that I was going to come back next week, but I thought, what the hell? We're recapping on the Mike Miller case, and that's something that we should go over regularly. I mean, back in the day when it first came out, it was every day, sometimes a few times a day. And so, if we're recapping, let's recap. So I did what I had promised. I went through that May 2nd video, and what I did was bullet points like the old days where I would go through something and, just catch the little idiosyncrasies that I would find in, something that John Paul Miller would say or bring up. Now, for anybody that's listening that may not know what I'm talking about, this is a May 2nd, 2024 audio that someone had taken during a meeting at the Crocodile Rocks where John Paul Miller was giving his version of the truth on what happened to Mica a few days before on April 27th, 2024. And so what I did was I went through, with the help of the transcripts, thank God for transcripts, some of the well, let's put it this way, BS story that John Paul Miller was giving to the employees or the people that work there. Obviously, they don't believe him because somebody felt the need to record what he was saying. So, and what I did was I had found, one or two videos of Micah during the time, 2024, to contrast some of the things that he claims in that May 2nd audio. So let's just go over a few things that he mentions. And then after that, we are going to go over Andy, the neighbor's um, May 4th 911 phone call that destroys John Paul Miller's alibi. Pretty much gives us an idea of what's been going on at the house. Remember, Mica was living in an apartment. Okay, she was not living at the house for quite some time, so the activities that were going on there was related to directly to John Paul Miller, which had a lot to do with a few times these neighbors had witnessed multiple very young girls, and a lot of them being Asian, being at John Paul Miller's house. The other things that they point out in this phone call is there was sheets on the windows, and the mail lady had gone up to the door to deliver something, and one of these girls answered the door, and it just did not seem like a cleaning crew, or anything like that. Um, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a photo that was going around of one of Micah's cars. I think it was a white Honda being seen that evening, 12:30 to be exact, at a hotel, a Wyndham hotel, about 12:30 that morning, let's say, of May 4th, strangely being parked in front of a Wyndham in North Carolina. And now all of a sudden, these girls were at his house. So that was the reason why Andy initially called. In the phone call, of course, he brings up trafficking, says there's a lot of activity, a lot of, crazy stuff going on there. The neighborhood's tired of him being there, talks about him speeding off that morning of April 27th, meaning that John Paul was in the neighborhood that morning instead of in Charleston, as he claimed. Um, and there's a couple of other things too, and we'll go over that when we listen to it. But right now, we're going to go over the bullet points of the May 2nd audio at Crocodile Rocks, where John Paul Miller is giving his version of, what he wants everybody to believe about what happened to Micah the Saturday before. Now, there was somebody in the chat with the name JMarJ05 who had said they had heard in this very audio that John Paul has mentioned Mica was wearing her work clothes. And how would he know? Because this information didn't come out until much later by Robeson County, to be precise, May 7th. Um, when I went through, and it's a good thing to point out, it was very good for you to point out and to catch that. But you're going to see that inside this audio, John Paul mentions that he had spoken to quite a few people about what happened to Micah on that night. Not just the hospital, few people, he says it. And so it's possible that one of them did tell him she was in her work clothes. So I not that I'm debunking your question, I'm just giving a possibility of how he could have found out. We believe he found out because he either was there or indirectly knew somebody that was there. Anyhow, so one of the first things that he says was family would tell her family would tell her that the medication that she was on, stop taking it. You don't need it, pretty much, because it made her gain weight and made her slow. Well, I went and looked it up, and when somebody is taking lithium and they're not supposed to be on it, the main common side effects is fatigue, mild confusion, weight gain. These are common side effects. So obviously, she had the common side effects for somebody who's on lithium, who's not supposed to be on lithium. He also said, allegedly, an episode in 2022 where Micah did not know that they were married. Now, and he said, this is what he says, these are his words, which makes me wonder, was Micah of sound mind and body at the time that this marriage was legalized? I mean, there's a lot of questionable things about the legality of a lot of paperwork that's been done throughout the years, with Micah's alleged signature on it. There's been a lot of questions about certain, notaries, and notarizations of paperwork that has had Micah's name on it. So, any time that anybody questions or challenges anything John Paul Miller says, they're either a demon or they're mentally ill. Remember that. So, where she did not have any idea that they were married, might have been her way of pointing out something he did that was illegal. Remember, this also might have been something that he was concerned about coming out if she was seeking a divorce. This might have been brought up, and this could have been a lot of trouble for him. So we got to take that into consideration. He also says that there was she sent her family, a text in 2024 stating that she had been off lithium for a month and feeling great. Now, somebody who it needs lithium, somebody who is given a prescription by a doctor, who's diagnosed and come to the conclusion that a person is in need of lithium, by the way, which is a sodium that your brain makes, okay? Usually has racing thoughts, risky behavior, low mood, hopelessness, depressed, anxiety, fatigue, headaches, and GI issues. Let me play for you real quick, if I can, a video of Micah during that time. Let's see now. So we're going to make sure we got the right one. Here we go. And you tell me if you think that description fits the person in this video. I'm sorry.
That have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs or alcohol abuse or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that? So I want to remind you, like a bunch of people have been reminding me lately, that I'm God's bride first. And even an earthly spouse who's a good spouse, when they know that their bride is being hurt, just imagine what an earthly spouse does. What do you think your heavenly spouse does when you're the bride of Christ and he sees his bride going through abuse and hurt? What do you think he thinks about that? So, encouragement in all this is you are the bride of Christ first before anybody else's. And he's got you. And he sees you. And he loves you.
So, this, ladies and gentlemen, is a person who has been off of lithium and is allegedly supposed to be having racing thoughts, risky behavior, low mood, hopelessness, depression, anxiety, fatigue, headaches, GI issues, and so on. I don't know. Maybe I'm blind, or I don't know. Maybe I smacked my head on the pavement and something, a little confused. But to me, that does not look like the psychotic person that is described by John Paul Miller. Okay, so let's move on. Allegedly, when he had her admitted February 4th or 5th, I'm not really sure exactly, forced into a mental hospital, Mica is having, according to him, an acute psychosis, bipolar manic episode, also alleged cannabis dependency, which she made up in her head and was telling them, and she had no idea what she was talking about, and, making her out to be psychotic, unstable. So let me play for you the 911 call from this alleged unstable, psychotic person who couldn't think straight and, just was having a manic episode. You tell me if that's what it sounds like to you, the person who was on this 911 call.
Hi, Diana. I'm needing somebody to go to my house, the house that I currently reside in. Me and my husband are separated. And since I was admitted to the hospital, I have been told that he's taken possession of my phone, laptop, and car, which are all in my name. How do I get a deputy out there to get those items surrendered over to be temporarily held until I get out of the hospital?
You want an officer to go to your home and temporarily hold your items?
My personal property app's got very, very, very sensitive information of me on those items that I don't trust are not being used for against me, I guess you would say.
198 County 10-4. So your husband?
We're legally separated. We both have lawyers and we're pursuing divorce.
Copy.
And he took possession of my items while being hospitalized.
I will put this in here for an officer. I'm not sure what they'll do.
And it's my phone, my laptop,
629.
and my car. And my phone and laptop have naked pictures of me on them.
Copy. I also have a police radio, so bear with me. I'm trying to do more than one thing at a time. All right. What's your home address?
Coldwater Circle, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 29588.
Coldwater Circle. All right. And what is your name? And your phone number?
843-6. Well, do you want me to just give you the hospital's number? Because if you call my number, he's going to answer.
Yeah, just the number we can contact you with.
Lee, can I get a number to this place so if they call me back?
Okay. And do they need to ask for a certain room number? Which hospital are you at?
South Strand.
Okay.
And while I was admitted here, my husband, who were legally separated, swooped in and claimed my personal items as my husband, not as my legally separated husband, and my car and my laptop.
So were they like brought to the hospital and he took those items?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now he's going through my phone and texting people impersonating me.
Okay. Do you want the officers to come to you to make a report about this?
No, I'd rather them just show up at the house because he works from home. He's a pastor doing this.
Five 10.
And I'd like it to be as soon as possible because from what I hear from just people calling me at the hospital, that it's been multiple people that he's sending out messages from my phone saying it's me, but it can't be because he has my phone.
Okay.
So he's impersonating her. Remember that.
And the phone is in my name. It's not a dual phone, and it's the bill is in my name and everything.
328.
And the car is in my name. The car insurance is in my name. Everything. The laptop.
Copy.
And he's taken advantage of me being in the hospital, and he's taken possession of them, even though we're legally separated and both have lawyers and everything.
Which was probably the reason why he put her in the hospital in the first place.
Okay, if it's a vehicle that's been repossessed, you'll have to contact that financial institution. Right, but in order to find.
And you want the officers to hold on to your belongings or take them to the hospital?
They can actually be put in a holding locker or something at the police department that only I can get them out, if that's okay. I just need them to be confiscated and put in a holding thing. And I get out, I believe on Monday is when they're released. I have my release date with the charts and stuff on Monday is when they'll think I'll be fully recovered.
And is he at home right now? Do you know?
He probably will be, yeah.
What's his name?
John Paul Miller. And if you cannot get Officer Wilson to do this because they are friends, he's a parishioner at our church, so I think it would be a conflict of interest.
Wilson?
Yeah. It would be a big conflict of interest because he is a church
name?
elder. Brian.
Yeah. No, he won't.
Church
okay, good.
elder.
It would just be a really big conflict of interest, and I'd hate to put him in the middle of it anyway.
Description? Is he black, white, Hispanic?
He's white, male.
How old is he?
44.
And do you
His
live at that
sister,
home as
Lacey,
well?
lives with them.
Do you live with him?
Not currently, no.
All right, we'll get an officer dispatched as soon as possible. Just call us back if anything changes or if you have any further information.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
So to me, that sounds like a person who can speak and think clearly, not having a psychotic episode, can recall things clearly, clear memory. Um, doesn't seem like somebody who's having a psychotic, bipolar, whatever episode that John Paul would like her to have. Now, remember, this is February. She says in her own words, she is not living at that house. So I want you to remember that, okay? Now, going on with the May 2nd audio meeting that he's having at Crocodile Rocks, he says, and in his own words, he had spent 4 hours trying to trick Mica into taking her medication. And he uses the word trick, which is probably what he did the entire time. He claims now, okay, on one side of his mouth, she's psychotic, she's having manic episodes, but on the other side of his mouth, that Mica was very, very strong, which I believe. Then he says he took her to court. Now he's telling this to the people. This is a few days after she passes away, but feels the need to explain that he took her to court and they deemed her not a danger to herself or others, so he could not force her into the hospital. These are his words. So at this point, he realizes that the forcing into the hospital thing is no longer working. Claims she's very, very strong. She is a force to be reckoned with and a threat. Now he goes on to April 27th. His words: got a call Saturday night, didn't believe it was real, called other people to see if it was real. They said it was real. Who are they? I want you to think about this for a second. Your loved one has just taken their life. They're sent to a hospital. Maureen, something is being done, hon. It's under investigation. Please. I'm so sick of looking at that question. Your loved one does the most unthinkable thing. The police take the body to the hospital. The hospital calls next of kin, which is you, and tells you what had happened to your loved one. And you hang up the phone. Who are you going to call to get a confirmation whether this is real or not? Who are you going to call? The police department? Why didn't he say the police? Called other people to see if it was real on another phone. Why did he have to call them on another phone? And he says this. This is not me making it up. It's in the audio. Now he says, telling them about what happened. She called the police. I'm about to unalive myself. And I want the family to find my body. They said, no, let's talk about it. Now, everybody that's ever heard the 911 call, the made up, phony, fake 911 call, knows that that operator never once offered any comfort or any way of stopping the caller from harming themselves. It's okay, Maureen, don't worry. I know it's been a long time, I know. But this is a very complicated case, and it's not just about Mica. So there's just a lot of facets that have to be, but it's being done. If it wasn't being investigated, then I would understand your frustration. But it absolutely is. Anyway, getting back. He's making it sound as if the operator was going, no, let's talk about it. Not one time did that operator say that. Not once. Not one time did this alleged operator show any concern for the caller and what they were about to do to themselves. Why? Well, a lot of people don't even believe that the operator was real. Now, I've yet to be able to prove that. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't believe that was Mica. Okay. And I know a lot of you don't believe it either. Okay, so now he says we're still on the May 2nd audio clip of John Paul Miller telling his coworkers, employees, whatever, at Crocodile Rocks about what happened to Mica a few days before. Mica allegedly told someone 3 years ago she was researching Lumber River State Park, and if she ever decided to do this to herself, this is where she would go. Now, minutes before that, he says that she never knew about Lumber River State Park and never went to Lumber River State Park. So which one is it? 3 years ago, she was looking into it, or she never looked into it and never knew about it, never went there? I mean, it's like, make up your mind. It's been over a year and a half that this case has been covered by many people, and not one person has come forward and said, yes, Mica told me that 3 years ago she was looking into Lumber River State Park. Same as not one person has come forward with one piece of substantial evidence to prove that John Paul Miller was in Charleston the 26th and 27th. We do, however, have proof that he was in Myrtle Beach on the 27th. Moving forward. He says Mica was perfect and strong. She was a wonderful woman. Meanwhile, he's having a full-fledged affair with Susie Skinner. Remember, before Chris's passing, he told Susie, God wants us together. And that's in 2021. Okay? He's with Mica. They're married. So she was so perfect, so strong, wonderful woman, but he's having an affair. And that affair never stopped. We see them together only a few nights after Mica's passed away. Now, this is May 2nd. You got April 27th, April 28th, April 29th, April 30th, May 1st, May 6th. So you're talking about 5 days, 4 or 5 days after Mica's passing. And he claims he's getting death threats. By who? This case hadn't even made it nationwide yet. Not to where we see it now. JLR, I think, was probably the only one that had made it to the scene by May 2nd. We're talking about May 2nd. It hadn't made it global. There was no protests. So who the hell was calling him making death threats? He says, I had a PI on her a few months ago. They were telling me she tried to get a weapon. They took the track off a few weeks ago. I don't believe him. I think that the tracking device was on her the whole time. And that's how they knew that she bought a weapon on that day, the 27th. And that weapon, according to her father, was purchased for protection. That's why, and if you're listening, because I know you are, FBI and the rest of you, that the weapon and especially the ammo that was purchased on the 27th was not used on her. We were already able to prove that. There were hollow points, and the injury on Mica didn't even come close to what hollow points would have done to her. So we've already proven that. So he's a liar. Plain and simple. And if you have nothing to hide, why lie? If you have nothing to hide, if you're an innocent person, innocent people don't lie. Innocent people don't need to lie. Okay? Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that, Donna, because he poked the bear. See, everything was quiet. Everything was, and let me put that up so everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everything was quiet, and we were all kind of in the waiting mode for what the authorities were going to do next. But he felt, and his camp felt, hey, let's go start a rumor that John Paul Miller turned himself in, thinking that they were going to screw us over. Well, guess what? You poked the bear, you wanted attention, now you're going to get it. We're just going to regurgitate all of the lies and BS that you've been telling all along, all the crappy things that you've done, what a horrible pastor you were, with a horrible father, with a horrible husband, and how we all believe, every single person who has a brain does not believe for 1 minute that you're an innocent man or that you're innocent anyway in regards to your estranged wife's passing, which has always been suspicious from the very beginning. And we're going to go over right now the 911 call by the neighbor. I do want to go over, it won't be today, but it will be soon, probably the next video. We will go over the 911 call from April 27th. We're going to do a comparison of that voice with another voice on a 911 call that was done the following July for a wellness check on John Paul Miller. And then we're going to go over what an expert had said about the 911 call and what they felt they were listening to when hearing it. And it's called conversational AI. And then we will cover what that means. But let's go over, this is me and CJ. Let me see here. There it is. Going over the 911 call. Now, let me just bring this into context for you. A few days before, this is a Monday evening, and the Saturday before, one of the girls who's worked tirelessly, there are a few people, and I have to bring it up, and I do have their names here. So let me say that real quick while I'm here. There are a few people who worked very hard on this case, Mica Miller and Chris Skinner, but Mica Miller especially. Some of them have channels, some of them don't on TikTok. They are the diggers, and the finders, and the investigators, and they've gotten very little acknowledgement, very little recognition. But I want to give them acknowledgement right now because one of them was the one who gave me this incident report. And the reason why they gave me the incident report was because on it said trafficking, and they knew that my background had been involved in, investigating and looking into trafficking and exposing it, whatever. And so because she sent this to me is what opened up this Pandora's box. It totally changed the direction of everything from this date. And what had happened that morning, which was an absolute miracle, God was in this from the very beginning, just like the remote control for Chris Skinner's chair. As I said, it was an early Saturday morning. I got the incident report, and I immediately emailed Horry County Sheriff's Department, which is where this is from, this incident report. And I had asked for the 911 call for that incident report. Within hours, I got it. And when I heard what this man was saying, I was floored, like many of you were. And that's why we're going to go over it again. But real quick, let me go over the names of the people who deserve recognition and never got it. And their usernames are Wild About Dreams, They Can't Suicide Us All, Kristen, that's her name, Sorted Out Sleuthing, and Wansor Jam. And these are people who've worked very hard. And I want to give you the credit that you deserve. You've never really gotten any recognition and credit. And I just want to thank you for a lot of the digging and the work that you have done and give you the acknowledgement that you deserve. So I wanted to take that moment to do that. So let me add this here. This is now the following Monday evening, I guess that afternoon, that Saturday afternoon when I got the 911 call. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I didn't have a streaming or anything like that. I always did things pre-recorded. And I didn't know how to add recordings or anything like I do now. And so I just did a bullet point, like I just did a little while ago with the audio. And I guess CJ had seen my show, seen that I did the bullet point. He contacted me and said, "Would you like to play the 911 call and show the incident report on my show?" I said, "I'd love to." So that Monday evening, he invited me on, and this is an excerpt of that show where we're going over the incident report 911 call. So let me play that for you now. We'll go over it together. I will try to just play it without saying anything, but I might possibly interrupt. If you don't hear this well or is interruption, please let me know in the chat, okay?
That was discussing, this was on 5/1/2024. This was printed 5/29, but you can see that the incident right here, 5/1/2024. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read the incident report again. This is in Myrtle Beach. You know it's Coldwater Circle. You know where.
Forgive me, 5/1. I kept saying 5/4. 5/1, May 1st. Please forgive me. I said May 4th. I did not mean that. May 1st. Very important.
Where that's at. And you know the minimal amount of numbers for the blacked out part. So you can kind of put two and two together.
Right.
All right, it says, made contact with the homeowner who advised everything was 10-4. Officers were able to look inside the residence and nothing appeared suspicious. Owner believed it could have been her husband calling to make complaints on her due to them going through a divorce. Shows all the officers involved who's primary. All right, and then right here at 12:19, same date, made contact with the homeowner who advised everything was 10-4. Officers were able to look inside the residence and nothing appeared suspicious. Owner believes it could have been her husband calling to make complaints on her due to them going through a divorce. 11:48, possession of S trafficking.
Possible
Okay.
sex trafficking.
11:48, sheets covering, meant with an O, sheets covering all the windows. Black car in driveway. 6, it is not known if anyone is in danger. Caller name blacked out. The text suspicious / wanted person, circumstances, vehicle. Problem, there are a bunch of young Oriental females inside the residence. This is the house where the preacher's wife came up 10/7, 2 days after file divorce. Now look at this, you guys. This incident involves suspicious circumstances. This incident is in progress. The caller's current location is in the area / neighbor. Number 4, it is not known if weapons are involved. Number 5, not applicable description has already been obtained. Suspicious activity. Now, and then there's the rest of it. So, what did you think about that when you came across it?
First of all,
it for the
I
first
had to make sure it was verified because, people can just make stuff up. So I immediately sent out a FOIA for I wanted the full incident report, and I wanted the 911 call because I wanted to hear the concern from the neighbor. They were quick. They were like more than happy. I got, I think, 2 emails right away saying we're working on it. And right now they just sent me an email today.
Really?
They're working on sending me everything from 2020 till now. Because I want everything for that 911.
Nice.
Well, because if you remember, I don't know if you saw my my video, one of the things the neighbor had said was that, JP had beat on Mica. This is what one of the neighbors had said.
Yeah.
And also beat up one of these Oriental girls, and the police were supposed to know. So I'm like, okay, I need to get some confirmation on that.
Yeah, I mean, there is stories of him even throwing her clothes out. I can't imagine. This is so crazy because can you imagine you're a neighbor, right? and you live next, that'd be like a cop doing the same thing with his spouse, right? You're you have a pastor that lives in your neighborhood, and all of a sudden you see the pastor throwing out all the pastor's wife's clothes on the lawn, right? And
Yeah.
you, or even the screaming inside, the punching holes in the wall, the screaming that had to take place before the punches in the wall. Some, I'm sure sound travels through windows. Sometimes I'm sure the windows were open. You know, when you're talking about those kind of toxic relationships, there's no timetable, there's no timeline. You don't know when something's about to pop off until it pops off. So windows could be open. So could you imagine
Yeah.
being a neighbor and seeing or hearing that stuff, especially from a pastor's house?
Oh,
It
yeah.
would it would have me going, what the hell?
Well, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the 911 call,
No,
but there were a lot of chock full of things. And I have my notes here. But one of the things I remember him saying was, "This guy's crazy. This stuff has been
really.
going on constantly at that house. It's constantly chaotic." The other thing he said that I found very interesting, another reason why I want more records, wasn't the story always that he spent the night out the 26th into the 27th, or was he home? Was he home on the 27th? I don't know, because there were two things the neighbor said. Now, this is May 1st, so
That's
nothing
a
had
good
come out.
question. I
You
don't
guys weren't
remember.
there. You guys weren't protesting. The story wasn't big yet. The two things that this neighbor said that I found very interesting was that they heard she was killed in Charleston.
Really?
Where did that come from?
Charleston.
Yeah, and said that that Saturday, which would have been the 27th, that he was home that morning, sped out of the neighborhood, and almost hit one of the neighbors on the way out. You're going to think I'm crazy, but listening to this a year and a half later, we've always tried to figure out where this happened to Mica. Obviously, it's South Carolina. Nobody's ever really checked into the story of whether it was even possible for her life to have been ended in Charleston, as this neighbor had said, and maybe transported to Lumber River State Park. I'm going to bring that up to some people, but listening to myself talking to CJ about it, maybe that's something that should be looked into. So I don't even remember that until now. But I just figured, let me bring that up, because we've always looked at Mullins and we've looked at, other places, but Charleston was never really looked into. But yes, the neighbor does say it, and you will see that. You will see that now. It does come up, the 911 call, by the way. Please be patient. It is coming.
I mean, that sounds like him. I mean, we saw Pastor Protest Jesus J when he got followed. You could hear JP ripping tail out of his driveway, and
Yeah.
he had
Yeah,
to
you
back
heard it.
out.
Yeah, it was
He had to
pretty
back
bad, man.
out. Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, how long is the 911 call? Thank you for sending it to me. We are going to play it. No, I haven't even got to listen to it at
It's
all.
not very long, maybe what, a minute, a little over a minute, huh? Oh, is
Interesting.
it 4 or 5 minutes? Okay, couple minutes.
Holly said
That's right.
Charleston is where JP said he was on the day, and so that's interesting that some of the
Mhm.
neighbors thought it was Charleston.
And notice there's been no receipts for the dinners
Well,
and the lunches and the shopping and
maybe the reason, because when it comes to eyewitness accounts, sometimes they're not always 100 locked.
sure.
Maybe because they saw stuff that was going on, like clothes getting tossed out on the lawn, screaming of words that you're like, this is coming from a godly house. Maybe, well, this is what I'm saying. Maybe when
Yeah.
JP came to tell them, maybe because of what they might have already been thinking when they heard the news, they just automatically put Charleston in their head because he mentioned being in Charleston. It's shocking news. JP
Yeah.
probably said Lumber River State Park, but it's so shocking. Stuff gets mixed up, and then they're just
Okay.
like, yo, they subconsciously already thought that he had something to do with it when he mentioned it.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
they said that to the 911 operator. He said, you know, he said it to the dispatcher. You'll hear it. We apparently know she did not shoot herself. This was
Really?
what the neighbor said. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
you know.
Yeah. This is crazy. Right out the gate, he ain't waiting.
They're tired.
He ain't waiting. He's just like, yo. Like, I mean, just starts going crazy. All right, here we go. I'm unmuted too.
Where can I dispatch? Hello?
I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here.
This is Roy County Dispatch. Can I help you?
Sure, I was talking to a lady. She sent me you.
Okay.
What I'm calling for, we're in the neighborhood of Cascades. This is where that preacher guy, which everybody knows is crazy out here, and his wife apparently, which we know she didn't shoot herself. But what's happening?
Just redact.
And he's had a bunch of Filipino girls or some, I don't know if sex, what's going on in there. But the neighbor also saw him beating one of those girls up not too long ago. He can be, tell the police about it. The mail lady just went down there and she said there's always different young Oriental girls in that house, and then they're now. I guess I don't know what he's going. I know they're doing an investigation into her death because she had just filed for divorce and all. And, we all know her from running and everything, and she ended up dead. But I think somebody might want to go by that house and see what's going on, because it don't look good for this neighborhood. And her mom's out here, there's older people out here in this neighborhood. Something's going on.
Redacted.
Yes, ma'am. That's the address. And the mail lady said she went by there and there's young Filipino girls, all that sex trafficking and all going on. Mm-hmm. I heard he was involved in that, but I'm not saying it because there's a lot he was into.
Okay.
And with little girls and all, and that's why it's going to all come out in the long run. But girls there's nobody else. That's not their house. It belongs to her. And she had filed for divorce. So y'all might want to check it because there's something going on. They got like sheets all over the windows and don't look right in this neighborhood.
They have what all over the window?
And like I said,
sheets.
It looked like they got sheets put over it now since all this. And we did see him fly in there and fly out of there because he almost hit us in his blue truck and he took off. That was on Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. And apparently he sneaks in there and leaves. But those Orientals in there, and like I said, I think that was her house. But you heard about it. Everything going on with the, what was the name? Rock Church, Solid Rock Church.
Okay.
And it's the Miller, J.P. Miller. And like you say, she filed for divorce. 2 days later, she's dead. So there's something going on in there. It's been going on a while. Like I said, the neighbor saw one of them, the boy, because he's real crazy, beating the girl on the back. But I don't know why he didn't call the police, but he didn't know either.
Gosh.
A lot of people don't like getting involved. I don't know if he's involved in sex trafficking, which I think he is. But y'all can find out. They got no business in that house.
Whoa.
Okay. And what is your name?
God bless this man.
Live down the road, believe me. Yeah, the neighbor knows. Everybody's scared of this guy now because what's going on. They should be.
Right. And what's your...
These are all redacted parts, everybody.
Yeah.
This is from the report we just read to you a minute ago.
Do you know about how many Oriental girls are there?
Oh my gosh.
No, I have no idea, but the post ladies did it always, and she saw them in a while ago. So they came to the door and got some packages she delivered. She knows there's always something. And the other mailman that used to be there said there's always something shady going in there with that boy and everything. Which it is, they're young.
What?
She thinks they're Filipino.
What? Don't tell me they're people from overseas that are. Oh
yeah, JP. He was the one. His wife was just found dead. It was just said that she committed suicide, but all the people got Facebook. They know he killed. You know how that goes.
Right.
He beat it all the time. He really did. He's a crazy guy.
Beat her all the time.
Involved in young kids and young girls, and of course the church now is just saying that. Somebody should come up and say that a lot longer, and she'd be alive today.
Oh, shout out, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're doing
I'm sure y'all all read about it. Just happened, I think, Saturday.
Whoa.
But there's always been something weird, and everybody had to tell you something weird going on in that house.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice neighborhood.
It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a place you look like you're like, wow, I'd like to raise a family here.
Mm-hmm.
There's everything.
Yeah, I don't really want to get involved, but I'm you know what I mean?
Right. Do you know if there's any
Something
weapons
to be
involved?
done.
Listen to this.
I don't know if there's any weapons in there. I know they said the girl shot herself. I don't know if it happened there. Somebody told me that the mail, they thought she did in Charleston, which don't make sense, but nobody knows.
Okay.
I don't know what's in that house.
And is there anyone in danger right now?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on inside that house or not.
Right.
There's a black car out there. I know they got the windows and all. They'll see when they see the house.
Okay.
Yeah, he slipped in and he ran out of there. So I don't know if he was. I know he had a restraining order on him, and I don't even know if he was supposed to be around that house. But I don't. Like I said, she ended up dead. You know how that goes.
Right.
It's weird. It's very, and everybody knows. Everybody in that church knows. Everybody knows it, and it's under investigation. So
that's why they dropped down to 50 in that
All right.
first
I'm
week.
going to let you go. An officer's going to be dispatched as soon as possible. Just call us back if you get new information or need further assistance.
all right, we appreciate it. We didn't want to get involved, but there's something needs to be done because there's something going on, and you know it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Whoa. That
Yeah.
was.
So as you can see, me and CJ are really thrown back by what we just listened to. Now remember, like I said, my husband and I listened to it 2 days before. Pardon me, that's my earphones. And we were taken aback by what we were listening. I had to listen to it 2, 3, 4 times before realizing what I was hearing. And before then, I hadn't heard anything in regards to trafficking, beating her, Oriental girls, Charleston, except for him using it as an alibi, that possibly she had been, her life was taken there. The whole church knew about it. Everybody in the neighborhood was scared of him, how crazy things were at the house. I mean, just, knowing what we know now and putting all the pieces together, of course, naturally it makes sense. But you're talking about this was back in July of 2024. The whole remote control thing about Chris's chair came up July 3rd. It was like July 2024 was when everything kind of exploded. Ironically, it was the end of July when the probate case happened. I think it was the 29th. And a lot of people thought the case is over. Mica didn't get her justice. And if you remember, I got really angry because I was like, what does one have to do with the other, guys? I don't understand why you keep thinking that Mica's not going to get any justice when you know the FBI is involved. What is probate court? And I think a lot of people just didn't know what it meant. They didn't realize that probate court had everything to do with any money or finance that was attached to Mica. Who was going to get that? Was it going to be her family or John Paul Miller? That was really what the probate was about. It had nothing to do with the justice for what had happened to Mica while she was alive, which was total injustice, and how her life was taken from her on April 27th. It took for the feds to show up at his door on November 1st, 2024, for people to go, oh, I guess something is happening. Because a lot of people walked away thinking that the Francis family had sold her out, which was absolutely not the case, not even close. Now, going back to what Maureen had said, and I didn't mean to jump on you, Maureen, but there's a lot of people ask that question. What's happening? Why haven't there been arrests? Da-da-da. Okay, if you had been paying attention the entire time without ceasing to this entire case, and that's not just Mica, Chris, the woman Dee Dee found, passed away November 1st on church property or property that was owned by the church. the Gobbles, Johnny Jacobs, and we can go down the line, of people that were either directly or indirectly involved with the Millers. Now we got Tracy or Mays, who just suddenly end up gone. And not even just that. Well, a lot of us believe that Solid Rock Church and the ministries surrounding were just fronts for many criminal activities. And if you think that the Millers are the only ones that do this, you are sorely mistaken. There are a lot of churches that are out there that put on a great act. The music, and they know the words to use, and they do a couple of, these fakey fake false kind of sermons, throwing a couple of scriptures in there to make it sound real. And people fall for it. People that don't read the Bible or really are not proactive in their own walk with Christ. And so they're easily fooled into thinking this is a real church. And they guilt people into paying tithe and offering by using one scripture and abusing the hell out of it, and get people to pretty much finance their criminal activity. On top of that, a lot of them, these churches, you'll find own other businesses. Most of the time, questionable ones. Like, for example, in this case, a piano bar. I don't know about you, but I've never come across a real pastor or a man of God who owns a bar. And if there's illegal activity going on, even in that bar or associated with it, and most illegal activity is cash only. You're not gonna, do any kind of criminal activity with your credit card. Not if you have a brain. You can't really launder that money easily in your bank account. So how do you launder that money? Through a church. And why? Because churches have 501c3. And because of 501c3, which needs to be totally done away with, churches do not need to answer to the government or the IRS on the amounts of money that come in and the amounts of money that go out. So if somebody comes in with large sums of cash into a church, they're not going to be questioned. If you go into your personal account, and let's say you've got $200 in your account, and you always seem to have, after you pay your bills, about $200. And tomorrow, all of a sudden, you dump $200,000 into your account, guess what? The IRS is going to be knocking at your door going, where'd you get the money? Because it's an activity that they're not used to seeing. And why? Because you're a taxpayer, which thank God for President Trump, who's looking to get rid of that. But I digress. A church doesn't have that overseeing of the government or IRS. So yes, they can easily launder money. And that's what I believe was happening here. And because Mica knew that and was strong and was smart and was done with his crap, the potential of her giving him up and giving up these activities was very high in this divorce. And the fact that he admits it, he wasn't able to force her into the hospital anymore. He didn't have that control over her anymore. And now he was even given a protection order where he had to stay away from her. So she was even a bigger risk now that she was getting, action. There was movement on her behalf to protect herself from him. So a divorce would have opened up a Pandora's box of information that not only would have taken him down, but a great deal of other people. Still is going to. So with the size of that kind of an investigation, it's not going to take a few months. I'm not saying it's going to take years, but it's not going to be right away. If this was merely just a husband and wife issue, he would have been in jail already. But that's not the case. There's a lot of facets to this Mica Miller, Chris Skinner, John Paul Miller, Solid Rock Church, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of facets to it. And so we're going to have to be patient. It's very difficult, but we're going to have to be patient in the waiting. And we have been. If you remember, I had just been updating you on what was going on in our government and our country and whatnot, just kind of sharing it with you and doing the online protests. Nobody was really going over any of the cases. And then some mental midget decided that, the day before the holidays, let's put out there that John Paul Miller had turned himself in, and let's make a big, deal about it, make a fool out of everybody. And then come to find there's John Paul Miller behind the church Sunday morning, sneaking into the back, which indicates that he was part of it. He was part of fooling everybody and playing with everybody's emotions, thinking this is a game. Now, it's only 2 weeks before that he had said to his 12-person congregation, the cult, that he and Susie were going through a life and death situation and that they had life and death decisions to make. So between that and then all of a sudden this rumor coming out, it was like he was playing with our emotions. Well, you know what? You wanted the attention, you got it. Now we're going to go over why everybody thinks what they think about you, John Paul Miller. And this is not being merciless, and this is not being unforgiving. This is uncovering the truth, taking the veil off of all of the lies and the corruption, and showing people the real story. There's scripture after scripture that backs up that God does not protect or support suppressed truth. Nothing. As a matter of fact, it tells us to expose evil. And that's what we're doing. So, yes, I believe Andy too. I believe Andy because there really is no reason for this man to lie. He gains nothing by lying. So I believe him too. And I believe Mica. Yes, absolutely. So the next thing we're going to go over, which I will have for you probably Monday, is going to be the 911 call that was made on April 27th, which a lot of us believe is not Mica, but Mica's voice being used through some sort of voice modification or as one expert called it, conversational AI. There is a video of a back-to-back, it's kind of more a side-to-side comparison of the call that was made on April 27th and another phone call that was made on July 7th, 911 call wellness check for John Paul Miller, that is very, very similar in voice cadences and breaths that are taken in between. Just the similarities are striking. Let's just put it that way. And it was Steph from Steph Case Files who had noticed it initially. I did not notice. I had heard the 911 call, but I had never noticed a comparison. She had pointed it out, so I'm giving her that credit. And then we'll go over what the expert had said. I have to go back in my email and go find it, but it won't be that difficult. When he had taken the 911 call from April 27th and shared it with the engineers at his company, played it for them, and they all came back unanimously with it sounding like what they referred to as conversational AI. And then he explains what it means, and we'll go over that. And then, like I said, we're just going to move on with this case as if we're starting all the way from the beginning, and that's what we're doing. So that's the show for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. If anything happens between now and Monday, that's substantial and, that's breaking news, I will be back. Otherwise, most likely I will be back on Monday. If anything comes up, I'll let you know. Maybe just put up a video if something happens where I'm not able to make it on Monday. But as it is right now, probably Monday. But thank you for joining me today. Please stay in prayer. Psalm 91, Lord's Prayer. Have a great weekend. Yes, you too, Barbara. Thank you for saying that. Shalom. Until I see you guys again, please stay safe and God bless.